Hi everyone, Bruno from RVing TV, and today we have something special. We are going to do a test drive of a 2024 Roadtrek Chase 50th Anniversary Edition. Thank you to Bella Vista RV for lending us the vehicle. Now I've set up multiple cameras and I'll bring you those views throughout this video. Our main camera, we're shooting on an S24 Ultra in dual record, or what sometimes is called director's mode, so that you're going to be able to see me as well as see outside. And then we have a secondary set of cameras set up. We have a GoPro pointed at the front and our controls, as well as an outside mounted GoPro camera. So let's take a little drive and it'll give you an opportunity to experience what is it like to drive a van. I'll give you some feedback. I'll also be quiet at times so that you can actually hear road noise, etc., if you're thinking about getting into the van life. So with that being said, let's hit the road. We bring you fantastic RVs, detailed walkthroughs, upgrade tutorials, parts reviews, and even some automotive content. This is RVing TV. Now this Roadtrek, we are doing a few videos on it, so some of the information will be duplicated here in case you're watching the other videos. This is built on a 3500 series Ram ProMaster chassis, powered by a 3.6 liter V6 engine, and I believe, and I'm sorry about this, I'm going off the top of my head with everything going on, I believe it's 260 horsepower and 280 foot-pounds of torque, which should be really good. And some of what I want to do on this road test is not only give you the experience of what it's like to drive the Roadtrek and the Ram ProMaster, but also get a sense of what is the mileage like. Now we're only going to be covering, ballpark 50 to 80 kilometers today on our test drive, but it'll give us a little idea, which is nice, just so if you're thinking about buying one of these vans, you'll know what it's like. Now do not assume that because it's on a Ram ProMaster that every manufacturer is going to drive the same, because that is not going to be the case. What is going to happen is different manufacturers will mount their cabinets differently, will have different tolerances, and that will make a difference as to how quiet the unit is. Now, my initial take is we're driving at the speed limit, and this is actually pretty quiet. I'm really not getting shakes, rattles, rolls, that type of thing. I'm going to go quiet for 30 seconds and let you be the judge. So now you do get a little bit of wind noise off the front. That's to be expected. You're driving a van, and this is basically the size of, I would say, maybe a smidgen longer than an extended wheelbase minivan. Definitely the same size as a mid to larger SUV. But so far, very easy to handle, very easy to drive. It's a bit of a windy day. We've actually got a crosswind, and I'm doing that with my finger so you know which way the wind is blowing. We've got a bit of a crosswind, and I would imagine that is also why we're seeing and hearing, we're hearing some wind off of the front, because it's not coming directly at us, it's coming across from us, because honestly I'm not picking up a lot of wind noise off the mirrors. Now we're doing about 100 kilometers an hour, and that's about the speed limit right here. So far, the average fuel economy off of the computer is telling me about 20.9 liters per 100 kilometers. For our American friends, I'll be sure to put the conversion in writing at the bottom of this video. I'll also put a link to this specific unit on Bella Vista's website so that you can take a look at what they have, and I'll put a link to Roadtrek's website as well for when this is sold from Bella Vista. Now, Bella Vista is located in Oro Medonte. They've been very gracious to actually give us an entire day with this unit so we can explore in and out, do a variety of videos, and bring you some real life information. So I do appreciate that. And speaking of that, if you would like and subscribe, I would be greatly appreciated, because that entices other dealers and manufacturers to give us these type of opportunities to be able to get really close looks and test drives for you, our viewers. And this is the type of video I love doing, because it really brings real life experience. To give you a perfect example, the average economy is now down to 18.4 liters per 100 kilometers. Now, we don't have any instant economy to look at, but it is really nice to be able to see that. And to give you an idea, I also reset the Trip B and its average when we already finished accelerating, just to get an idea if we're running down the highway, what kind of fuel economy, are we potentially looking at. And let me just do this. I lost a couple of kilometers an hour. So at 100 kilometers an hour, basically 60 miles per hour, we're getting about 12.9 liters per 100 kilometers. That's a little bit more than a small to mid-size SUV. I can tell you it's about the same, little bit better than my 3/4 ton 6-liter gas pickup truck. So considering that you're taking a home with you, that's pretty impressive in my eyes so far. And we'll give you some updates as we go. Now, we are coming up to a fairly decent hill up here, so we'll be able to see, do we really need to get into the power of this Chase, or is it more than powerful enough? Now, from some previous experience, I was lucky enough a few years ago to have an Itasca Viva, which is built on the same platform, but was actually not a van conversion, was a purpose-built motorhome on a stripped-away chassis. And that, I could get up to 17 miles per gallon. Sorry there, I don't remember the liters per 100 kilometers. Right now, our engine is running about 3,000 RPM, climbing the hill and holding 100 kilometers an hour. And this would probably bring our average fuel economy a little bit higher, but I can tell you, definitely not lacking. And actually what I want to do is, let's get into the throttle. It shifts down, and it's actually picking up speed pretty good, because we're going to let off at that point, because I don't want a ticket. Mind you, we were only up to about 10 kilometers an hour over the limit. I don't want to push it beyond that, but those 10 kilometers climbed pretty quickly, seeing that we were actually coming up a hill. And that's where you want to know what the power's like, because there is a hitch on the back of this Roadtrek. So you could hook up a little trailer. Maybe you're going to take a little boat with you. Maybe you're going to take a little pop-up trailer as the mother-in-law suite, if you want. Little RVers joke there. But, you know, you have that flexibility, or you could just put a carry tray to carry some extra items that you may want. But so far, this is a nice, pleasant trip. Now, you're not going to see it. I'm going to lift my hand here on purpose. This hand has actually been sitting on my thigh. I've been driving a good chunk of this one-handed. And the reason I wanted to speak with that, first, I recommend should always have 2 hands on the wheel. That's our safety tip to all our viewers. But the reason I'm doing that in a test drive, as I mentioned, there's a bit of a crosswind, and I wanted to see how stable is it with just one-handed driving on a day with some crosswinds. And actually very reasonable, really nice. I have to admit, I could actually see myself, you know, liking a unit like this. I did enjoy the Viva. It was a little bit bigger and would have had a little more wind noise because it protruded out wider than the van body. This with the van body is more aerodynamic, going to be a little bit lighter and a little more compact, which has some distinct advantages. Now, I apologize, I'm not always looking at the camera. I've set it so that you can see me, but I am checking mirrors for other traffic. It's a fairly busy day. We're filming on a Thursday in cottage country, and in the late spring as we are now, after the May 2-4 weekend, Victoria Day in Canada, and a couple of days ago was Memorial Day in the US. We tend to get busier traffic-wise on the highways. Here, a lot of people come up on Thursdays to head to their cottages. Now, this Roadtrek does have a 9-speed transmission, so that will help keep the RPMs low. Right now, we're cruising at about 100. We're coming up to a 90-kilometer zone. So, again, 60 miles an hour transitioning to 55. We're running 2,200 to 2,500, and as we slow to 90, you know, it looks like we're coming more down to the 2,000 RPM range, and our fuel economy average, including accelerating onto the highway, is now down to 16.5 liters per 100 kilometers. And our highway only running is running about 14.5 liters per 100 kilometers. Again, I'll try to, in post-production, write in what that is in miles per gallon. But so far, I'm pretty impressed. Again, pretty quiet. I hope you're picking this up on the mic. Like a little bit of rattles because the road underneath us is a little shaky, but it's more body rattle than it is anything cabinets, and I think that's because of the laser cut cabinets that Roadtrek does. So they laser cut them to fit that inside wall to get the best fit, and then my understanding is they mount them really sturdily to the body of the actual RV, of the van, to really make it quieter for driving. So this is putting a smile on me. These Italian leather seats, the covered leather seats, are pretty good. I probably should have, I'm going to reach and just recline it a little bit. Yeah, that's a little bit nicer. I just kind of hopped in the way the seat was set and took off without really getting it super comfortable. I did set the mirrors, but that was about it. Now you probably can't see it. The media center here has Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, so we could set that on our trips as well. There's a wireless phone charger down here to put your phone. I'll try to bring that to you in another video. The dash is all digital, which is really nice. Even braking, really nice and smooth, confident, inspiring. Now, I've had a lot of experience driving everything from pulling small to large travel trailers. For our regular viewers, you know I pull a 36-foot fifth wheel. That's the RVing TV fifth wheel. And we also pull, I've pulled other heavier fifth wheels up to 15,000 pounds. Plus, I've had the opportunity to drive a couple of C classes, as I mentioned, a couple of, we're going to call them B pluses, basically van cutaways with the purpose-built motorhomes, right up to the 45-foot diesel buses. And this is actually a really nice ride across the board. I'm not getting what I was really interested to see on some of these B's, B pluses. Sometimes what can happen, because you're putting a fair amount of weight on the rear axles, you can sometimes get a little bit of porpoising, a little bit of lighty front end. Now we're just stopped. There's some paving happening in the area here. You can get some porpoising where the front end gets a little bit lighter because more of the weight being at the back of the unit. And I was curious to see that. And we only have about a quarter tank of fuel here. Well, actually, sorry. We have between a quarter and a half. But usually in a few small units I've driven, when you had that much fuel, which is not a lot, you didn't have any fresh water on board, what tended to happen is you could get that porpoising, and especially with crosswinds, you feel your front end really light. And sometimes with a crosswind or with a tractor trailer going by you, what would happen sometimes is you would feel the front end lifting and the steering getting lighter. And that can be a little scary, especially if you're doing, 50, 60 miles an hour or 90 to 100 kilometers an hour. It can get a little unnerving. And I didn't pick up any of that on this test drive so far. And as you would have been seeing from the footage, we were coming up a highway. Now, the reason I believe that is not happening on this unit is Roadtrek installs at the factory Sumo springs on the back suspension. Now, Sumo springs are a heavy-duty set of springs that's used in the RV industry by a variety of manufacturers. And honestly, in my opinion, it's not actually used as much as it should be. It's underutilized in some cases, and it's sometimes underutilized because they're not cheap. And some manufacturers want to keep the cost as low as possible, so they don't do some of those enhancements. And I would put money that the Sumo springs have been used, and the Sumo, sorry, there's some traffic here and I just want to make sure they're flagging me through. So I would bet the Sumo springs here are giving that extra support on the back end, so that it's giving it that better ride, keeping that front end low, so that, and you'll see all the equipment that we're driving by here as they're paving the road near my place. We're actually driving up to my place. We're going to do some videos where it's a little quieter away from the dealership and do some of this test drive. What's really nice is those sumo springs are keeping things supported nicely and keeping that front end down and low, even though we have so little water and fuel on board. And I'm going to bet you fill up your fresh water, the 37 gallons that this has, which has an inside tank of 17 gallons, I believe, and 20 gallons mounted underneath in between the chassis, that the ride will only get better when we put the water. Sorry, there's a big bump here, and I don't want to take a chance of damaging these rims because they're absolutely beautiful. And I think the ride's going to get only better when we fill up those tanks, and then of course load our gear inside. So when it's fully loaded, it's actually going to be super, super spectacular in order to take it out and drive. And even with the slowdowns now, I'll give you an idea. Average fuel economy with that stop and go has been 16.3 liters per 100 kilometers. Now I'm going to go around the block here because there's a little bit of an incline here and then a bigger hill. Again, just at slow speed to see how this engine reacts in its drivability. But so far, I'm going to say this is a top-notch drive if you're looking at a van. I'm going to encourage other manufacturers or dealers to invite us to do some similar reviews and test drive so we can check out some of the competitors out there. So far though, from a drivability standpoint, I am going to say this is a winner in my books. This would be a unit I would buy from a drivability standpoint. Definitely an enjoyable drive, and I think I could get in this and drive 8, 10, 12 hours if I really, you know, had an urgency to get somewhere. I think it definitely would meet all those needs. Anyways, the test drive's coming to an end here. I'll bring, basically my thoughts are, you know, let's do a synopsis here. My thoughts are definitely a winner, definitely great stability, super comfortable. I haven't even thrown down the armrest here. You know, check back soon for, and I'm going to just pull up here and stop for a second. There's our Denali fifth wheel. Essentially, absolutely a great ride. Here, let's see if I can flip this around. Absolutely a great ride. Really good fuel economy from what I'm seeing right now. So it's not going to hurt your pocketbook. It's going to encourage you to get out and travel. Very quiet, so you're not going to go crazy. You could sit and have a conversation with your spouse, your partner, or maybe just a travel partner that you want to take, and you could really have an enjoyable experience here. If you like the video, please click the like button. If you have enjoyed this so far, please subscribe. We're going to bring you a bunch more videos on this Roadtrek as we've been given quite a bit of time with it to be able to explore it, do some videos, and bring you some information beyond the normal walkthrough. Bruno from RVing TV, thanks for watching the video. You guys make the channel happen. Watch for the other videos that are being released, and if you're watching on my @BrunoTambari YouTube channel, we're going to post this over there for viewers that aren't familiar with the RV channel as well. So thank you, and make sure you live life to the fullest. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.